Have you ever experienced inequality that frustrated you, but you felt like there was nothing you could do to change it? Because I have. Almost everyone has experienced some degree of inequality, whether it be on the basis of gender, race, ethnicity, or sexuality. There was an organization that was created for the justice of African Americans in the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, otherwise known as NAACP. As a group, we will express this organization's progress from the beginning, each department and program, and the current events they are partaking into today. This will allow all of you to understand how and why the organization began and is still very important for today's society. The NAACP is an organization that will remain prevalent in society until the day African Americans do not have to worry about inequalities due to the color of their skin. To begin this presentation, we will discuss the origins of the organization and its importance. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People was founded in 1909. A civil rights organization within the United States created to forward justice for African Americans. A quote from the NAACP website: "The NAACP was created with the purpose to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights for all persons and to eliminate racial hatred and racial discrimination." The NAACP was created after a riot broke out in Springfield, Illinois. The African American community had felt like they had reached an ending point. They were not able to handle the hatred that they received just because of the color of their skin. They didn't feel safe living anywhere within this country. Appalled by all the violence, there was a group of white liberals, including Mary White Owington and Oswald Garrison Willard, William English Walling, and Dr. Henry Moskowitz. They came together to discuss the issue of racial injustice. This meeting was attended by a total of 60 people. 7 of those happened to be African Americans. These people came together in order to find a resolution to an issue that had been going on for way too long. By 1910, they had opened their first headquarters in New York City. Also, in 1910, W.E.B. Du Bois started the Crisis magazine as a voice for civil rights. Since then, this magazine has grown extravagantly. If you will look online at the Crisis magazine, you will find historical events that have taken place within the African American community. You will find the Barack Obama election to being the first African American president, and many other things that have happened in the past, the present, and with a little sneak peek into our future. This magazine is actually considered the official publication of the NAACP. The Crisis magazine is a quarterly journal of politics, culture, civil rights, and history that seeks to educate and challenge its readers about issues facing African Americans and other communities of color. That quote is from the African American website from 2019. By 1913, the NAACP had established offices in other cities. In those early years, it had managed to already increase change within the communities it was serving. At this time, cities such as Boston, Detroit, Kansas, Baltimore, St. Louis, and Washington were all being impacted by the NAACP. The membership was growing rapidly, with 9,000 members in 1917. By 1919, there was 900,000 members with the NAACP. More than 300 of those were from local branches. What really helped the NAACP establish its importance as a legal advocate were a series of early court battles. One of those was a victory against an Oklahoma law that regulated voting by means of a Godfather clause. Within a 30-year campaign, the NAACP waged legislative battles, gathered and published crucial statistics, organized mass protests, and produced artistic material, all in the name of bringing an end to the violence. There was a familiar historical name associated with the NAACP. Thurgood Marshall had worked for the NAACP for years along Charles Hamilton Houston. However, in the early 1940s, Marshall became the NAACP's special counsel. Marshall continued the association's legal campaign. During the mid-1940s, in Smith versus Albright, Marshall successfully challenged white primaries, which prevented African Americans from voting in several southern states. In 1954, Marshall and a team of NAACP attorneys won Brown versus Board of Education in Topeka, Kansas. Those are just a few examples of the work that Marshall did with the NAACP. Today, the NAACP is still working with African Americans on education, legal rights, and voting rights. My two sources are thecrisismagazine.com as well as thurgoodmarshall.com, early NAACP legal work.
The NAACP continues to work with and for individuals experiencing inequality. They do this with the use of programs and departments. The NAACP has many programs and departments to aid their mission in ensuring political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights for all. One of the departments is the Federal Advocacy Department, which began in 1941 and deals with the legislation program. The NAACP Washington Bureau is a job of the organization that makes the priorities of organization into federal public policy, which was found on naacp.org. Priorities that have been made federal are civil rights, a fair criminal justice system, educational opportunities, fair labor environments, and housing healthcare for Americans. The Federal Advocacy Department also has produced an annual civil rights legislative report which displays how members of Congress vote that interest the NAACP, which was also found on the naacp.org website. This report allows members of the NAACP to know members of Congress votes on civil rights issues over time and other important topics. Another department of the NAACP is the Educational Department, which works to ensure that the equal opportunities of education are being given to all Americans and not being racially influenced. This department leans more towards eliminating racial inequalities for colored students. The Education Department has 4 prongs to their approach on this goal, which is found on the naacp.org website. The first prong is resource equality, which support the children which need it the most with funds. The second prong is ensuring college and career readiness, which provides successful paths after graduation. The third prong is improving teaching, which tries to ensure the best teachers even in undeserving communities. The fourth prong is improving discipline, which works towards keeping children in school rather than using the zero tolerance policy. The third department is Economic Opportunity Department, which works towards the goal of empowering local communities, ensuring that government and industries are knowledgeable, and growing the concern of citizens and organizations to work together. The problem of concern of this department is unemployment rate, lack of affordable housing, poverty, and etc. The fourth department of the NAACP is the Criminal Justice, which advocates for criminal justice policies that will make communities feel safe as a result of the policies and treatments for addictions and other mental health. Another department is the Health Department, which allows people of color to get equal health care. This includes timely, quality, and affordable healthcare for all, which was found on the NAACP.org website. African Americans have the highest rate of healthcare. African Americans have the highest rate of mortality to chronic diseases and should have equal health care as others. The last program I will talk about is the Environmental and Climate Justice Program, which works to address civil and human rights issues of climate change. One example of the environmental injustice that this program addresses is how placement of toxic facilities are placed in communities of minorities and low income. This then displays how communities of minority low income are being impacted by the chemical emission of these facilities. Members of low income communities also tend to be colored, therefore the placement of these facilities is being targeted at a particular race, which was found on phi.org.
Okay, how does an organization like the NAACP continue to grow in strength since its creation in 1909? That's because they have a revolutionary way in the way they approach their goals. They have a lot of current events that they are engaged in right now, and I think that would help to shed light on how they go about their business. For starters, on February 16, 2019, the annual National Board meeting was carried out, and this focused on preserving rights of all people in completely new methods. Firstly discussed in this meeting was swifter resource distribution while being backed up by research in civic engagement. Up next on the agenda was reforging partnerships of all that they retained over a long period of time to ensure the achievement of their goals in the future. They also signed a memorandum of understanding with many alliance groups, to name a few: Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Corporation, Kappa Epsilon Psi Military Sorority Corporation, and the Black Entertainment and Sports Lawyers Association. This just to name a few, and there were many more involved. The MOU consists of new strategies to engage Black voters statewide and locally, community and membership building, leadership development, civic engagement, and issue area advocacy priorities. This information was taken straight from the NAACP website. Up next on the events that they are involved in these days, they held their 50th NAACP Image Awards on March 30th, 2019 at the Dolby Theater. This is the first time such an event was held in Hollywood, and it was attended by a host of Black Hollywood celebrities including Beyonce, Chadwick Boseman, LeBron James, Ryan Coogler, Regina King, all up for Entertainer of the Year on that night. The ceremony serves to recognize activists and entertainers with contributions to Black culture. This 2-hour function was telecasted live on TV1 at 9 p.m. EST, and this entire event's information was also retrieved from the NAACP website. Thirdly, regarding the events that they're involved in, they're holding something called a CRATI. It's a CRATI, and Civil Rights Advocacy Training Institute. And this runs through March 22nd through all the way to May 19th, with many dates in between them in all 7 of the regions they operate in. This event is billed as being champion for change, and there are different prices for adults and kids, and the whole purpose of this is to inform people regarding advocacy campaigns in economic empowerment, education, justice, health, and water empowerment. And during this entire event, you can connect, mingle with other activists, members, and state conference officers, and you can also hear from National Board of Directors and national staff. And also, these current events, all 3 of them, these are just a few of the events that the NAACP conducts, and they highlight how they're trying to create positive change and educate others regarding their movement with these events. And in conclusion, since 1909, NAACP has been championing for African American rights. They are a beacon of hope that signals the need for change regarding the injustice faced by these African Americans. With various dedicated departments and multiple televised events, they intend to bring about this positive change of equality. If you have ever experienced inequality due to either gender, race, ethnic, or sexuality, you would know why the NAACP's message is so important and why what they're doing is absolutely crucial for a peaceful society. Thank you.